Welcome back to eSIM Studios. My name is Taylor Bell. I wanted to hit on a very interesting topic when it comes to purchasing a phone and or your buying power when it comes to potential phone purchases. Now, I just returned the Nothing Phone 4A Pro. Now, while it is fun to use and fun to have, it gets you all giddy inside if you're a nerd like I am. But I was really stabbed, not necessarily stabbed in the back, but um, it was like bittersweet for me. I love the phone. I love the form factor. I love everything Nothing has done with that phone. I just think there's a couple of crucial inadequacies that Nothing did not implement on that Nothing Phone 4A Pro that had me disappointed. And look, I'll just circle back around when this time next year when the Nothing Phone 5A Pro comes out, right? So upon returning that device, I had to get another device, obviously, right? I'm a phone addict. Of course, I had to find something else to get. And that's exactly what I did. Now, I was not in the market for a flagship. That's another day, another story. I am eyeing an Oppo. Don't know if I want to get the Pro or the Ultra. I think I'm going to get the Ultra, but again, that's another video. But I wanted to get something similar, like a second phone, like a phone I could record with, and I'm using it right now as a webcam. But I didn't want to spend flagship price. I wanted to stick around the Nothing Phone 4A Pro. And it comes down to you don't always have to buy flagship. Now, I mean flagship that year, meaning the very latest flagship that's out. The point I'm getting to is the phone I replaced the Nothing Phone 4A Pro with is S25 Plus. Now, it doesn't really get talked about a lot at all, honestly. It's sort of the middle child that people forget about, quite honestly. But you can find phenomenal deals on an S25 Plus. Now, I got mine. Mine's the navy blue S25 Plus. The base model's 256 gigs. I found mine for $300. Now, I paid $667 for the Nothing Phone 4A Pro. So I literally paid more than half the price than the Nothing Phone, and I get almost twice the phone. Now, hear me out. Again, the Nothing Phone is fun to use. It's cool, but for me, and everybody's different. For me, now that I have Wi-Fi 7, it's a must. I'm goo goo gaga over Wi-Fi 7. If you have not experienced Wi-Fi 7, you honestly don't know what you're missing, right? I was like, what's the big deal? It's a huge deal. Once you have Wi-Fi 7, you do not want to go back. Not even to 6E. Like, it seems like 3 to 4 times better than 6E. Now, Nothing Phone 4A Pro, where does it come up short? What are those inadequacies that I was talking about just a few minutes ago? It does not get Wi-Fi 7. Yikes. So, does not get Wi-Fi 7. It does get 6E, but as I mentioned earlier, Wi-Fi 7 blows away Wi-Fi 6E. So that was a huge hit that I did. I record a lot. I upload to YouTube a lot. It's a difference. And the network. Now, I don't really have an issue with it on T-Mobile, the Nothing Phone. But with the Wi-Fi, I probably just had a bad unit. Online. Other people didn't have any Wi-Fi issues. I had a ton. So no Wi-Fi 7, some network issues. And then the other thing is recording. The cameras, although they're not Oppo level on the Nothing Phone 4A Pro, they're okay. They're decent, right? They're not shitty, but they're not anything to brag about. But I was okay with that, right? And then the processor, although it's not bottom of the barrel, the Snapdragon 7 Gen 4, that's why I mentioned I basically paid half the price for the Nothing Phone 4A Pro and got twice the phone, because hear me out on this S25 Plus, Wi-Fi 7. On the S24 series, the only Wi-Fi 7 enabled device in that S24 lineup is the S24 Ultra. The S24 Plus and S24 does not have Wi-Fi 7. The first year that Samsung went all in on Wi-Fi 7 with the entire lineup is the S25 series. So S25, S25 Plus, and S25 Ultra all get Wi-Fi 7 enabled. The cameras are better on the S25 Plus than the Nothing Phone 4a Pro. Let's be honest. They're better, right? Better hardware, better processing, post-processing. And the Nothing Phone 4a Pro did not shoot 4K 60 on the front-facing selfie camera. I think the Samsung does 8K. No, not 60, but I think it is 8K 30 frames per second on the front. You can easily do 4K 60 on the front-facing selfie camera with the S25 Plus. And then you got the full gamut on the back, right? And then you have the processor. Snapdragon 8 Elite blows away the Snapdragon 7 Gen 4. Battery, I think the battery's about the same, right around 5,000 for each. I think Nothing Phone is a little over 5,000, and I think the S25 Plus is just shy of 5,000, but right around there. And network, getting to carrier. The T-Mobile, their new 5G standalone, their brand new network, the true 5G non-standalone network, is enabled on the Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus. It is not enabled on the Nothing Phone 4a Pro. It gets T-Mobile's regular 5G, but not their brand new one, the one that eliminates my dead spot. So for where I am at, for me personally, it's a no-brainer to go for the S25 Plus. And it brings me to my point of the video where, look, even if the Nothing Phone 4a Pro is cool, fun to use, but it has some major, it's lacking in some major departments, which we just discussed. But let's roll into why I think the best buy is probably the last year's flagship. The prices just plummeted for the S25 series when the S26 series came out. And that'll be the same way. Maybe you're not ready to buy a second device right now. Maybe you're thinking about getting your 15-year-old kid when they turn 16. You're going to, start time to driving. Maybe you're going to upgrade their phone. But maybe they turn 16 in, 9 months or 10 months. Well, that time, the S27 series will be out. And then the S26 series prices plummet. So I want everybody, and at this point, do you really have to have the absolute latest and greatest? I mean, a 14-month-old, in this phone's not even 14 months old. It's actually like 6 months old. No, I think it's 4 months old because I looked at the manufacturing date, which is 6 months old. And then when the seller, when they purchased it 4 months ago. So it's literally, it only has a few months of use on it. So it's basically like a brand new phone. The specs inside of a 1-year-old, technically a 1-year-old flagship, almost just as good. Right now, it's not going to beat the same numbers as the 8 Elite Gen 5, right, which is on the S26 series. But I can promise you, a 1-year-old flagship CPU is going to blow away any mid-range CPU. Even the latest and greatest mid-range CPU cannot even come close to a 1-year-old flagship CPU. It doesn't even come close as far as performance. So I really think that if you're interested in purchasing a device, you don't always have to go with the latest and greatest. I know, look, I'm guilty myself of falling into that same trap of, I got to get the newest thing. Well, after purchasing this S25 Plus, I'm like, I'm going to say there's no point. I get it. You want the latest and greatest, or maybe you upgrade every 3 or 4 years, and you want to get the latest out because you're going to keep it for 3 or 4 years. But what I got right here is a fantastic option. Now, I want to roll into just how on this specific device, right? So you can go into, here are the specs. I mean, we all kind of know what the specs are. The display on here, yes, the Nothing Phone 4a Pro does hit a more peak brightness, but the Nothing Phone 4a Pro does not have a dynamic AMOLED LTPO 2.0. It does have 120 hertz, but this thing's HDR10 plus. I mean, the specs are still very, very impressive, even for being technically a 1-year-old flagship device. You do get USB Type C 3.2. I think the Nothing Phone is 3.0 or 3.1. Again, you get Wi-Fi 7. It's hard to beat flagship specs. It really, really is. Now, I wanted to show you real quick some of these prices, because even though I think I got a fantastic steal on mine, which I know I did after looking at these prices, but look, here are some on eBay for $420. What's this one? For $440. That's still a phenomenal deal. In my opinion, I would recommend, for your money, going with this. I think this is a better option. Quite honestly. Now, I get it. Everybody, you want to roll into you want to have the nothing experience. It is a fantastic, fun phone to use. But for me, I cannot deal with anything under Wi-Fi 7. First world problems. And a couple of other things. The cameras, the processor, if I'm going to be editing videos, something to think about. Everybody's different. You might. And I'm not discouraging you. If you want to go grab the Nothing Phone 4a Pro, please be my guest. It's a great phone to use. But I'm just saying, for the overall dollar, the S25 Plus looks like a much better deal, because you're getting, as I mentioned, basically twice the specs for here. How much was the Nothing Phone 4a Pro? It was $667 with tax. You can get this $420. With tax would come out to like $460. So essentially $200 less than the Nothing Phone 4a Pro. And I'm not even joking. You get twice the specs. So when you look, if you trying to make the most conscious decision, which one, probably going to go with the Samsung. Now, are there other options available? Of course, right? Of course. You could get the Motorola Signature for $667 on the dot, right? And that is better than the Nothing Phone, spec-wise, right? Silicon carbon battery, cameras are way better. That may be a better option. You see it? Well, it is a better option. It's just the Nothing Phone, and that gets Wi-Fi 7, the Motorola Signature. So, again, now that I think about it, there's a lot of good options out there, honestly. Instead of, and again, I'm not telling you don't get this is not a bashing video of the Nothing Phone 4a Pro. Again, it's really, really fun to use. But if you don't care about Wi-Fi 7, if you're not that big on cameras, if you don't take a lot of pictures, a lot of videos, not to mention, how can I forget? The Signature and the S25 Plus are way better with gaming. They have flagship CPUs in them. Now, the Nothing Phone 4a Pro with the 7 series, even though it is a Gen 4 in the CPU, you're going to be able to play more games, and more games better, with a flagship CPU. So everybody has to weigh options for themselves, weigh options, what fits you the best. What fits me the best is the S25 Plus over the Nothing Phone 4a Pro. Now, it hurts my heart to say that, because I really, really wanted to keep that Nothing Phone 4a Pro. But if you've watched my channel, I've made numerous videos about the Wi-Fi. Something was wrong in that phone. Very wrong. The network, I had network issues in it. So I wasn't keeping it because of that. But let's say that I had zero network issues and had strong Wi-Fi performance, even though it wasn't 7. Let's say that 6E still performed well. Would I keep it? Maybe, but the whole network thing. Now, again, me personally, I live in a dead spot. So having that T-Mobile non-standalone 5G, that brand new strong 5G signal from T-Mobile. Remember, not every phone gets that. You have to have at the very least, a Snapdragon 8 Elite CPU. So that means having the Snapdragon 8 Elite and then the 8 Gen 5 and then the 8 Elite Gen 5, everything up gets the T-Mobile's new standalone 5G. And obviously the new iPhones get it as well. Everybody has to make that decision for themselves. I live in a dead spot, so I absolutely, and y'all, my internet went out last week. So it just reminded me how much I depend on having a device that gets T-Mobile's new 5G network. I tried the Nothing phone when my power was out, when my Wi-Fi was out. I was like, you know what, this is a good test. So I don't even think I mentioned this the other day. I put my SIM card in the Nothing Phone 4A Pro to kind of, test it out. No Wi-Fi, so let's see what network will do if this happens in the future. And it sucked. It bumped down to 4G because it couldn't find a 5G signal, and that was dreadfully slow. So I was like, I put my SIM card back in my S26 Ultra. Boom, I get 200, 300 megabits per second. So just reminded myself that maybe it's just not meant to be, and just kind of whatever. I made up my mind after that it needs to go back. So there are other devices. I'm not just specifically pointing out this S25 Plus, but as I mentioned, the Signature, probably a better option. Maybe not as cool. Well, it's pretty cool. Nothing phone feels good in the hand, looks beautiful, looks futuristic. But once you take a step further, once you go behind the curtains, once you start weighing the options, it just wasn't for me, right? And I had to accept that and return it. So what are some other devices? Well, there is the Pixel. Obviously, you could go with how much is a Pixel 10? Now, Pixels do not get T-Mobile's new 5G standalone network. Their modem in there, the Exynos 5400, it's a pretty good modem, but it still does not get T-Mobile's new 5G standalone network. With the Pixel 11 series, they're upgrading to a MediaTek modem, and that will get T-Mobile's new 5G standalone network. But at the moment, let's just say other options outside of a Nothing Phone 4A Pro. Let's see, Pixel 10. You would have to be the Pro XL because the Pro is a small phone, and I don't want to compare a Pixel 10 Pro to a Nothing Phone 4A Pro. It would have to be the Pixel 10 Pro XL, which is going to jack the price up, but maybe you could go with a 9 Pro XL. Let's see, Pixel 10 Pro XL, starting low, price is starting low, going high, $650, right out the door. Look at this, $430. Damn, that's a good price. I mean, nah, I think the 9 Pro XL is the one to get because you can put a SIM card in the 9 Pro XL. So, well, let's just see how cheap that would be, because that would be a good trade-off. The 9 Pro XL gets better performance than the 10 Pro XL. So, wow, look at that. Look at that. Well, but that's a bid. What is this? Buy it now? That's parts only. Let's see. Buy it now. $300. Oh, it's locked. Come on, let me get to a good one here. 300. Yo, I need to get one of these. So, but you can see 330, let's just say 350, or hell, let's just 350, 400 at the most, right in the three. It looks like remember taxes. You could probably out the door at $360. You can get a Pixel 9 Pro XL, which again is better than the 10 Pro XL, in my opinion. SIM card and the performance is better, and it doesn't have that stupid 200 charging cycle limit. They started implementing that on the Pixel 10 series. So the 9 Pro XL is the way to go. You can get one for $350, I guess, out the door. And let's compare that to the phone 4A Pro. Better cameras, battery is about the same, screen is better on the Pixel. Now it's maybe more fun to use the Nothing phone. Both the Nothing phone and the Pixel 9 Pro XL do not get the T-Mobile's 5G standalone network. I believe I would like to know the specific numbers, but I think the 9 Pro XL, I think it scores better on benchmarks. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Tensor chip in the Pixel probably outscores the Nothing phone. I certainly was not impressed with the Nothing phone 4A Pro benchmark numbers. Did not blow me away. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're probably similar because remember the Nothing phone has that mid-range CPU in there. But this is a fantastic option if you don't want the Nothing phone. Similar operating system. Both are essentially stock Android. So there you go. And man, what a beautiful looking phone too. So you go from one nice looking phone to another with the from the Nothing phone to this Pixel. And again, you can get one, looks like for almost half the price of the Nothing phone. So this is another great option. And the Pixel gets Wi-Fi 7. The Pixel 9 Pro XL gets Wi-Fi 7. So just another option that the Nothing phone does not carry. So moving forward, I think Nothing has a great starting point, but I think there are some features it lacks to really push it over the edge. Now I know it's not a flagship technically, but if I were making decisions, I would at the very least to give it Wi-Fi 7 enabled for the 5A Pro. And I will specifically be looking for that whenever the next version rolls out. And if it doesn't, I'm going to skip it. But I fully expect them to support Wi-Fi 7. But the 4A Pro is just not for me. But if you got any questions whatsoever, please hit me up in the comments. You don't always have to get the latest and greatest. The point of this video is you can find a fantastic device just by rolling it back a year, right? I could easily use this S25 Plus as my daily driver. Easily. It's got a beautiful display. Camera's all right. I mean, they don't suck, but they're all right. But the point is, for $300, you're not going to hear one complaint out of me. The phone looks a lot better when it's $300 compared to $1,000. So I think I got a steal. And look, scour Facebook every single day. I check Facebook Marketplace. I check OfferUp. I check Swappa, I check eBay. You know, it may take 15, 20 minutes, but I check it every single day for good deals. And if I come across one, everything turns out, looks legit, boom, I'm going to get it. Whether it's to flip it or to use, I'm going to get it. So that's why I got this one. But got any questions, hit me up. Please, everybody, have a safe, enjoyable rest of the evening, rest of the day if you're watching this during the daytime. I do appreciate your time, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.